Continuing to examine full-year 2024 financial reporting from major airlines, let's take a look at One World Alliance member American Airlines. As you may remember, we covered the carrier's money-losing third quarter a few months ago, trying to explain factors for American's lack of success. It would be one thing if the carrier's financial performance was similar to its competitors, but unfortunately it lags far behind the other major US players, United and Delta. And so in this video, let's take a look at the details of how American actually performed in 2024. Getting right to the numbers, the airline's total operating revenues for 2024 was $54.21 billion. This consisted of roughly $49.6 billion in passenger revenue, $804 million for cargo, and a little over $3.8 billion under the other category. The total represents a modest 2.7% increase over the airline's 2023 full-year revenue. But for the airline to earn over $54 billion in revenue, it had to spend about $51.6 billion. American's largest expense was salaries, wages, and benefits, totaling a little over $16 billion. Aircraft fuel and related taxes comprised the airline's second-largest expense category at roughly $11.4 billion. Compared to 2023, American spent about 10% more on salaries, wages, and benefits in 2024, but spent nearly 7% less on aircraft fuel and related taxes. We won't go over the figures for all of American's other expenses, but one number in particular did pop out in comparison with 2023: the cost of the airline's maintenance, materials, and repairs. Spending over $500 million more in 2024 than 2023, this represents a 16.2% increase. Doing the math and subtracting operating expenses from operating revenue, we have American's operating income of $2.6 billion. Notably, this is nearly 14% less than the company's 2023 operating income, not at all the direction it should be going. But after factoring in non-operating income and expenses such as interest, American's pre-tax income was $1.154 billion. At least this figure is about 3% higher than in 2023. Briefly looking at American's performance metrics, we can see that it enjoyed 7.3% higher revenue passenger miles in 2024 than 2023. Its overall passenger load factor for 2024 was 84.9%, which is just slightly higher than its 2023 passenger load factor of 83.5%. More revenue passenger miles, a slightly higher load factor, these are positives. However, it appears that the carrier didn't earn as much per passenger as it did the year prior. Its yield and passenger revenue per airline seat mile, both figures dropped a few percent compared to 2023. So how did the airline perform going region by region? Well, American's domestic operations brought in over $35 billion in revenue, while it was about $6.6 billion for the airline's Latin American services. Transatlantic ops generated a little over $6.4 billion in revenue, while it was about $1.25 billion for Trans-Pacific. Clearly, American's so-called bread and butter are its regional and domestic flights. Remaining optimistic about its 2024 performance, American Airlines highlighted its new 10-year agreement with Citibank, which is to become the exclusive issuer of the Vantage co-branded credit cards in the US starting in 2026. The airline says that this new agreement is expected to, quote, drive incremental value for both companies and produce a significantly expanded loyalty and rewards ecosystem for Vantage members and Citi-branded card members alike. American's cash remuneration from co-branded credit cards and other partners was $6.1 billion in 2024, which represented an impressive increase of 17% versus 2023. The airline said that 2024 delivered strong operational results despite extreme weather and other challenges faced throughout the year. While investors can at least be relieved that American didn't lose money in 2024, it clearly underperformed compared to its rivals, something we mentioned in the introduction. Where American Airlines' pre-tax income was a little over $1.15 billion, United's was $4.2 billion, 3.5 times more. Delta's pre-tax income was $5.2 billion, about 4.5 times more than Americans. Indeed, using this one metric shows just how far American is behind its main network competitors. When the airline released its numbers, stock market reaction was strong. As highlighted by Forbes, the airline shares fell 9%, while Delta shares were up 14% and United up 10%. It's not just Americans' investors that are unhappy with the 2024 financials. Employees aren't too pleased either. As reported by Forbes, after the airline's earnings call, Allied Pilots Association President Nick Silver sent American pilots a message entitled 2024 Profit Sharing, Meanwhile at Delta and United. The message highlighted the fact that Delta will pay out $1.4 billion in profit sharing, equal to about 10% of eligible earnings, while United will pay out $713 million. Silver was quoted as writing, "That perennial bronze medal payout is based on the airline's report of $1.37 billion in total income. Let that sink in. Americans' income is less than what Delta will be paying out in profit sharing." Silver also stated, "We perform the same essential service for the same rates of pay as our peers at Delta and United, yet our total compensation trails theirs thanks to Americans' lagging financial performance. That's unacceptable, and one way or the other, it needs to change." It's clear that American is facing some stiff headwinds, some of it appearing to be of its own doing. As we've noted in previous videos, the airline lost many of its corporate customers when it tried to change its ticket distribution strategy. The strategy shift occurred in 2023, shortly after American Airlines signed agreements with Amadeus, Sabre, and Travelport to sell tickets directly to customers through the New Distribution Capability, or NDC, in October 2022. The change, which was an attempt at cutting out travel agents in the booking process, was so disastrous that it saw the exit of its chief commercial officer, Vasu Raja. While there was no official explanation given for Raja's departure, View from the Wing highlights the fact that Raja had slashed sales staff and managed deals and imposed penalties on agencies that wouldn't switch to Americans' new way of doing business, a plan that appears to have backfired. American CEO Robert Isom said that his company has reviewed and reworked agreements with its corporate customers that were the most affected by the strategy shift, mainly restoring the share of those travelers in its hub markets. These steps will be a strong foundation for the airline to compete for that business and restore its share in these important distribution channels, Isom stated. The executive also admitted that while clawing back that market share, including bringing back the sales team, has impacted the company, it will be highly beneficial to American Airlines. Hopefully, this will see American boost its profits in 2025. However, the airline is still facing headwinds in the form of aircraft delivery delays from Boeing. Already this year, the carrier suspended 3 European routes and reduced flight frequencies during its peak summer travel season due to ongoing delays in 787 Dreamliner deliveries. So, what do you think of American Airlines' current situation, particularly when compared to the competition? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment. Simple Flying publishes over 150 articles every week. If you're looking for the latest aviation news and insights, visit simpleflying.com.